So the Kings just signed Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook just wrapped a season in Denver, averaging 13.3 points, 6.1 assists, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.4 steals across 75 games, starting 36 of them. Those numbers alone put him ahead of every other point guard in Sacramento's current rotation from a production standpoint. And the most important part, he did all that coming off the bench. The Kings had the worst bench scoring in the league last season, dead last. Adding a guy like Westbrook, who's averaged more than 20 points per game in 13 separate seasons, immediately patches a hole that's been dragging this roster down. Now, let's get into what he brings compared to Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder finished last season with 10.8 points and 5.3 assists per game across stops in Detroit, Brooklyn, and Golden State. He's capable, but less aggressive, and the advanced impact metrics showed it. His defensive box plus minus dropped below 0 last year, and his assist-to-turnover ratio stalled out at just under 2-1. Westbrook's was better, closer to 2.5-1, despite playing with far more usage. Schroeder's shooting efficiency has never climbed above league average for an entire season, and he's posting an effective field goal percentage hovering around 48%. Westbrook's was right around 51% last season. Not elite, but more than serviceable, given his attacking role. Devin Carter, while promising, only managed 3.8 points, 2.1 rebounds, and just over 1 assist per game in 36 appearances. He's got defensive tools, sure, but he isn't bringing any creation ability yet. His usage rate was under 15%, and his turnover rate was higher than his assist percentage. That's a tough sell for a backup lead guard. Westbrook, on the other hand, has been consistently driving the ball into the paint for over a decade. Even last season, he generated over 10 potential assists per game, a number that ranked in the top 30 league-wide. Carter hasn't shown he can run even a second unit offense at this level. And putting him next to Westbrook instead of in place of him lets him grow without getting the offense stuck in molasses. Then there's Keon Ellis. No public stat lines from last season are available, but the general consensus is that he's developing into a reliable defense piece on the perimeter. That's fine, but defense-only guards without playmaking tend to struggle to stick in heavy rotation minutes. Westbrook gives Sacramento an aggressive north-south driver that demands help coverage, opening up catch-and-shoot looks on the wing, which benefits guys like Ellis far more than putting the ball in his hands. Westbrook's gravity off the dribble draws defenders toward the paint. And even if Ellis isn't getting stats now, he'll have more efficient opportunities playing next to a proven creator. Westbrook's presence gives Sacramento flexibility. He can play alongside Schroeder in dual point guard lineups, which they'll need against teams that switch everything. Schroeder had a usage rate below 20% last year, meaning he's not a ball-dominant guard. Westbrook can handle the creation while Schroeder spaces and cuts. And that's not theoretical. Lineups with two creators who can penetrate typically generate higher quality shots, especially when one is a downhill threat like Westbrook. The Kings struggled last year in half-court offensive efficiency. That's where Russell's impact hits hardest. Even if he isn't scoring 20 a night, he bends the defense. He still averaged over 10 drives per game last year, generating nearly 1 point per drive, which put him in the top third of the league. When you stack up the assist percentages, it's not even close. Westbrook's assist percentage last season was over 31%. Schroeder's was 26%. Carter, under 12. That means when Westbrook's on the court, nearly a third of his teammates' made field goals are coming off his passes. That's valuable, no matter what stage of your career you're in. And let's not forget about rebounding. Westbrook pulled down 4.9 rebounds per game. Last season, nearly double Schroeder's total. Carter didn't even crack 2.5 for a guard rotation that lacks size. Those extra boards matter. They help finish defensive possessions and start fast breaks. Westbrook's career-long habit of crashing the glass adds another possession control element the Kings have been missing. Steals? Westbrook had 1.4 per game. That's not just poking at passes, he was top 20 among guards in total deflections last season. That pressure forces offenses into shorter shot clocks and riskier decisions, which is exactly what Sacramento needs. Carter showed flashes in limited minutes, but didn't have the same impact per possession. Schroeder's defense? Still quick laterally, but he's never been a turnover generator. If the Kings want to boost their defensive turnover rate, and they were in the bottom 10 last year, Westbrook helps push them back in the right direction. One thing that doesn't show up on the scoreboard, but lives in the numbers: pace. With Westbrook on the floor, Denver's pace jumped significantly. They averaged nearly 103 possessions per game with him running the second unit, compared to under 100 with their starter. That kind of uptick matters. Sacramento played faster in prior seasons, but slowed down last year, and it killed their rhythm. Westbrook gives them tempo without sacrificing structure. He's controlled chaos, and his turnover rate was actually lower last season than Schroeder's, despite being more aggressive with the ball. Now take this in. The Kings finished near the bottom in bench net rating. The bench got outscored badly across most lineups. Plug in Westbrook's on-off splits, and it's easy to see why he helps. Denver outscored opponents by 4 points per 100 possessions when he was on the court last season. That swing is gigantic for a team like Sacramento, where the margin for error in the West is razor thin. Schroeder's teams were in the negative when he played. Carter barely saw the floor. Ellis's impact hasn't shown up in wins yet. Westbrook, for all the talk about his age, still moves the needle. And one last stat that matters more than people admit: usage versus efficiency. Westbrook's usage was over 24% last year. That's high for a bench player, but his turnover percentage stayed under 15, and his assist rate stayed over 30. That's elite bench guard territory. It's not just that he can handle a big role, it's that he doesn't melt under the pressure of it. In short, Westbrook doesn't replace Schroeder or block Carter or Ellis. He amplifies them. He gives the Kings a structure to work around when the starters sit. His playmaking makes low-usage players more valuable. His rebounding and steals fill statistical gaps in the rotation. And his scoring, even if it's not at MVP levels anymore, is still a legitimate weapon off the bench. This is a numbers-driven signing. And by the numbers, Russell Westbrook fits. And Russ is also going to help the Stars too. Russell Westbrook's addition gives Sacramento a downhill threat who still collapses defenses better than most guards in the league. He averaged 13.3 points, 6.1 assists, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.4 steals in under 28 minutes per game last season. And those assists weren't just swing passes or safe dumps. Westbrook ranked among the top 10 in the league in assists generated off drive, and those numbers will feed directly into Zach LaVine's and DeMar's shot diet. LaVine, who's coming off a season where he shot nearly 40% on catch and shoot threes, is going to feast off the kind of drive and kick opportunities Westbrook thrives at creating. Westbrook's aggressive penetration forces weak side rotations, and LaVine's one of the league's most efficient scorers in those scramble situations. With Westbrook on the floor, defenses can't shade toward LaVine off the ball as much. That's going to open up extra possessions where LaVine gets clean looks without needing to dribble. His effective field goal percentage on unassisted threes was just over 52%, a number that jumps even higher when he's not the primary initiator. And for DeMar, it's all about spacing and tempo. Westbrook's constant pressure on the rim keeps help defenders honest, which gives DeMar the mid-range space he thrives in. Last season, DeMar shot over 47% from mid-range with a defender more than 4 feet away. Those looks were fewer and far between when defenses weren't being pulled toward the rim. With Westbrook collapsing the paint, DeMar gets more of those clean ISOs or quick pull-ups. Another underrated element, Westbrook's passing angles. He's always been an underrated interior passer, especially on wraparound or bounce passes in tight spaces. That makes it easier for DeMar to operate from the high post or baseline, knowing there's a reliable outlet feeding him in rhythm. His passes come with pace and timing. And DeMar, who averaged over 4 free throw attempts per game last season, benefits from quick touches and rhythm that allow him to attack closeouts before the help sets. Looking at transition metrics, Westbrook finished among the top 20 guards in transition possessions per game, converting over 60% of those opportunities into points. That number stands out because it translates directly to both LaVine and DeMar. LaVine is still one of the best transition wings in basketball, ranking in the top 15 in points per possession on the break. DeMar might not be the sprinter he once was, but he picks his spots. With Westbrook's tendency to grab and go, he averaged nearly 5 rebounds per game. He often initiates transition without needing an outlet. That's big for wings like LaVine and DeMar, who can fill lanes and catch the defense sleeping. Spacing concerns with Westbrook's shooting are real. His 32.3% from 3 last year was his best since 2017, but most of those makes came from the corners. On above the break threes, he shot below 25%, but that's where coaching comes in. With proper spacing, Westbrook operates as a screen setter and short roll passer, just as well as a primary ball handler. He spent over 20% of his defensive possessions guarding bigs last season. That kind of switchability lets him be part of smaller, faster lineups, where LaVine and DeMar get extra possessions without giving up too much size. And that size matters. LaVine and DeMar aren't exactly known for defense. Westbrook's defensive metrics showed he was still well above average as a point of attack defender, especially in isolation. He forced turnovers on over 2% of defensive possessions, and his 1.4 steals per game don't fully reflect his deflection numbers. That gives LaVine and DeMar a little more room to gamble or play passing lanes, knowing Westbrook can take the tougher guard assignment on certain nights. On the bench unit, Westbrook will likely operate as the primary initiator, but there's room for overlap. Staggering rotations so that one of LaVine's or DeMar is always on the floor with him allows the Kings to maintain offensive structure even when their top options rest. Westbrook's usage rate last season hovered around 24%, but he maintained an assist rate over 31%. That tells you everything. He can run the offense without hijacking possessions. DeMar's mid-post isolations and LaVine's off-ball movement work better when the point guard isn't ball stopping. And for all the talk about Westbrook's shot selection, he posted an effective field goal percentage, over 51% last season. For a guard who still creates a large chunk of his offense at the rim, that's solid. There's also the chemistry factor. Westbrook's history with bigs like Nikola Jokic suggests he thrives when there's a playmaking five on the floor. Sabonis fits that bill. That allows DeMar and LaVine to work as cutters more often. Westbrook's vision is sharp. Over 70% of his assists came within 3 seconds of receiving the ball. That kind of decisiveness means less standing around. The ball moves faster, and guys like LaVine, who had one of the highest scoring rates off cuts 2 seasons ago, can cash in. Free throw generation is another ripple effect. With Westbrook driving downhill, defenses collapse early, and that leads to contact. He drew fouls on over 15% of his drives last season. That number doesn't just boost his own free throw attempts, it puts pressure on defenses, gets teams into the bonus early, and opens the floor. DeMar thrives at the line. He shot over 84% last year, and LaVine's no slouch either. Westbrook helps create those bonus situations by being relentless. From a lineup data standpoint, Westbrook improved Denver's offensive rating by nearly 5 points per 100 possessions when on the court. That bump came despite playing largely with second units. In Sacramento, playing next to starters like LaVine and DeMar could elevate that impact. When your second unit leader has better efficiency numbers than some starters, it speaks volumes. He also had a better on-off net rating than both LaVine and DeMar last season, showing that his presence translates to real scoreboard swing. Turnovers are still part of the package. He averaged 3.2 per game, but considering his assist load and play style, that's manageable. And unlike LaVine and DeMar, who've both seen their assist-to-turnover ratios drop over the past 2 seasons, Westbrook still maintains a positive distribution trend. He creates more than he gives away. His leadership style might not show up in the box score, but it's reflected in energy stats. Denver's pace with Westbrook on the floor jumped over 3 possessions per 48 minutes. That energy rubs off on guys. LaVine, who often plays at a smoother pace, can feed off the tempo without being forced to create every trip. DeMar, who prefers a half-court rhythm, benefits from mismatches in transition when defenders are forced to pick up cross matches. And even if he's 36, Westbrook still ranks in the top 20% of the league in average speed per game. That tells you he hasn't slowed down as much as people think. For a Sacramento team that struggled to manufacture easy offense when their stars sat, having Westbrook as an engine with LaVine or DeMar on the wing creates cleaner offensive windows and protects the team from those dreaded cold spells. So no matter how you slice it, drive and kick assists, transition speed, matchup flexibility, defensive help, usage to efficiency ratio, Westbrook gives LaVine and DeMar space, structure, and easier paths to do what they already do well. His presence makes their job simpler. And at this stage in their careers, simplifying shot creation without sacrificing output is exactly what they need. And besides them, Sabonis is the perfect running mate for Russ. Russell Westbrook just came off a season in Denver where he averaged 13.3 points, 6.1 assists, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.4 steals in under 28 minutes per game. That role, centered around playing next to Nikola Jokic, is the exact mold the Sacramento Kings are stepping him into with Sabonis. And when you dig into the similarities between Jokic and Sabonis, the fit for Westbrook becomes obvious. Both bigs operate as offensive hubs out of the high post. Both are elite passing centers who draw help and manipulate defenders with backdoor looks and delay actions. And most importantly, both allow guards like Westbrook to play with freedom, rhythm, and purpose without the burden of initiating every single possession. Westbrook's success with Jokic was grounded in movement. He's a cutter first when playing alongside a playmaking big. Last year, Over 70% of Westbrook's made field goals at the rim were assisted. That's a major shift for a player historically labeled as ball dominant. Jokic allowed him to play off ball, cut baseline, or float into space, where he could receive the ball in stride and finish. Sabonis, who averaged over 7 assists per game last season and ranked top 5 among centers in assist percentage, provides that same platform. When Sabonis catches at the elbow or above the arc, Westbrook becomes a slasher, and his speed still warps defenses. And that speed is still elite. Westbrook ranked in the top 20% of the league in average speed per game. He didn't slow down, he just adapted. With Sabonis running delay sets or dribble handoffs, Westbrook's explosive first step becomes even more dangerous. Defenders chasing him over screens have to deal with his burst going downhill, and if they go under, Sabonis can make the read and counter with a slip or reversal. This exact action in Denver became a bread and butter play for their second unit, and Sacramento can duplicate it with even more spacing on the wings. Sabonis is also a perfect complement for Westbrook's transition game. Russ has long been one of the best rebounding guards in NBA history. 4 seasons with over 700 rebounds is absurd for a player his size. And when he grabs and goes, Sabonis doesn't clog the lane. He trails the break, becomes a secondary creator, or finds a mismatch early in the clock. Westbrook's ability to push tempo after defensive rebounds is a known weapon. Last season, the Nuggets' pace with Westbrook on the floor jumped by nearly 3 possessions per 48 minutes. That shift gave Jokic easier touches in early offense. The same will apply to Sabonis, who thrives as a trailer or early post option before the defense gets set. And there's a real history of chemistry. Westbrook and Sabonis played together in Oklahoma City during the 2017 season, and while Sabonis was still developing, the two ran actions that mirrored what Jokic and Russ did in Denver. Pick and pops, drag screens, high-low entries. Those elements are built into Westbrook's instincts when he plays with skilled big. His short roll passing has always been underrated, and with Sabonis as the release valve, it becomes harder for defenses to trap or blitz. Let's look at playmaking numbers. Westbrook averaged 6.1 assists per game last season, with a per 36 rate of over 7.5. But the deeper number is potential assists. He averaged over 10 per game. That means he was consistently creating scoring opportunities, many of which didn't convert due to shooting variance. Put him next to a big like Sabonis, who hits cutters and shooters in rhythm, and Westbrook's hockey assists go up. The ball moves, everyone touches it, and Sacramento's already high. Offensive rating climbs even higher. His shooting remains a limitation, no question. He shot just over 32% from deep and below 25% on above the break threes. Defenses will sag, but when he played with Jokic, that spacing issue didn't kill the offense. Why? Because Jokic drew defenders to the nail and forced rotation. Sabonis does the same. It's not about spacing the floor for Russ to shoot, it's about opening up seams for him to drive, relocate, or pass. And when Sabonis has the ball, Westbrook cutting baseline or ghosting into the dunker spot becomes a way to punish help defenders. There's also the rebounding synergy. Sabonis is one of the league's best rebounding bigs, and Westbrook's ability to rebound from the guard position allows them to own the glass. When both are on the floor, Sacramento can dominate the rebounding battle without sacrificing tempo. That matters for controlling pace and generating extra possessions. Westbrook's career defensive rebounding percentage is higher than most forwards, and when he grabs boards, he creates immediate transition chances, even off makes. Against Sacramento last year, Westbrook scored 18 points with 9 rebounds and 10 assists in a December matchup. Then, in January, he dropped 18 points again, while shooting 70% from the field. These weren't just random stat lines. They were snapshots of how Westbrook thrives in systems with passing bigs and open space. Now he gets to do that every night, with a roster built to move and share the ball. In terms of lineup data, Westbrook's on-off splits in Denver showed a positive net rating swing. When he was on the court, the Nuggets' offensive efficiency improved by nearly 5 points per 100 possessions. That includes time playing alongside Jokic, and even more importantly, time anchoring second units while Jokic rested. Sabonis, like Jokic, will draw double teams at times, and Westbrook becomes the perfect release. A slasher, a cutter, or a secondary playmaker. Sacramento lacked that change of pace in their second unit last season. Now they get it in a Hall of Fame package. Durability is another piece of the puzzle. Westbrook played 75 games last season and still averaged nearly 28 minutes per game. At age 36, that reliability matters. Sabonis played through injury last year and logged heavy minutes. Having Westbrook absorb some of that offensive load especially as a driver and creator, helps Sabonis conserve energy without sacrificing production. It's not just about adding talent, it's about making existing talent more efficient. And while the Kings' spacing around Sabonis wasn't perfect last season, it's trending upward. If Keegan Murray continues developing as a shooter and Levine stretches defenses with movement, Westbrook gets to attack tilted defenses instead of facing set half-court schemes. That dynamic plays into Sabonis' ability to diagnose and deliver passes quickly. The ball moves faster than the defense, and Westbrook's tempo enhances that principle. From a personnel standpoint, Westbrook and Sabonis form a unique high IQ duo. Sabonis finished last season with a top 10 offensive box plus-minus, and Westbrook, despite fewer minutes, posted a positive impact in that same category. They both read the game well, anticipate help, and force rotations with unorthodox spacing. Their combined assist numbers per 36 minutes sit around 15, which is absurd for a front-court-backcourt pair. In two-man game actions, Jokic and Westbrook developed rhythm quickly last season. Sabonis is more mobile and quicker with handoffs. That opens the door for more diverse sets, especially horns, zipper actions, and inverted pick and rolls, where Westbrook sets screens and slips into space. These aren't gimmicks, they're built off statistical synergy. Sabonis averaged over 1 point per possession as a DHO passer. Westbrook averaged over 1 point per possession as a cutter. That's efficient offense, and it's repeatable. Even on defense, they mesh better than expected. Westbrook guarded forwards on over 20% of possessions last year. That switchability lets Sabonis stay home in drop coverage more often. Westbrook's strength and low center of gravity help him battle through screens and keep the action in front. He's no longer a lockdown defender, but his energy and ability to generate steals, 1.4 per game, gives Sabonis more margin for error on the back line. Leadership is part of the equation too. Sabonis leads by example. Westbrook leads with volume. That balance creates internal accountability. Sacramento struggled with urgency in stretches last season. Westbrook's intensity, even off the bench, changes that tone. And when things get tight in the fourth quarter, Sabonis has another veteran who's seen every coverage and can still create something from nothing. So what do you get when you pair one of the league's best passing bigs with one of the most dynamic downhill guards of the modern era? You get options, you get tempo, you get mismatches, and you get buckets. Westbrook and Jokic showed the blueprint. Now Westbrook and Sabonis get to rewrite the next chapter, one possession at a time. And Doug Christie is the perfect coach for Westbrook too. Doug Christie's arrival as the full-time head coach of the Sacramento Kings puts Russell Westbrook in a position to be maximized, not managed. This isn't just a case of a coach inheriting a veteran star. It's a pairing built on alignment, style, mindset, philosophy, and need. Christie's coaching identity is defined by structure, accountability, and defensive intensity. Westbrook's playing identity, especially in his recent years, has evolved into exactly the kind of engine Christie needs to power the Kings' second unit and connect the dots between rotations. The numbers don't lie, and the context paints an even clearer picture. Westbrook just wrapped a season in Denver where he averaged 13.3 points, 6.1 assists, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.4 steals per game in 75 appearances. He played just under 28 minutes per game, mostly off the bench. That role is the one Doug Christie is expected to hand him in Sacramento. But this time, it's not experimental. It's intentional. The Kings ranked 29th in bench points and bench assists last season. That's almost rock bottom, and it's not a secret. Westbrook's numbers directly address both categories. Doug Christie emphasized building a culture rooted in accountability and purpose when he was officially named head coach on May 1st, 2025. He didn't just fill out a staff. He built a group that reflects what he called values and leadership. He made clear the identity of the team wasn't just about playing style. It was about who they were going to be. And Westbrook, for all the chaos people associate with him, has leaned into structure over the last few seasons. He thrived in a defined role with Denver. And now, under Christie, that clarity only sharpens. Christie, who was named to the NBA All-Defensive First Team once and Second Team 3 times, knows defense. That's not just background noise. That's the core of how he sees the game. He's not the kind of coach who tolerates passive effort, especially on the perimeter. Westbrook averaged 1.4 steals per game last season and ranked among the top guards in deflections per 36 minutes. He might not be locking up scores like he did in his prime, but his energy and anticipation are still disruptive. And more importantly, Christie knows how to scheme around effort. He'll use Westbrook as a pressure point, an initiator of chaos, not just a body in space. There's also real trust between Christie and the organization. He wasn't plucked out of nowhere. He served as an assistant with the Kings from 2021 until being promoted to interim head coach in December 2024. That continuity matters. It means Christie has a voice that's been earned, not just given. And when Westbrook walks into that locker room, he's meeting a coach who knows the players, the expectations, and the organizational tone. That stability helps veterans thrive. Westbrook's last few years have been full of change. This one won't be. Reports already indicated strong mutual interest between Westbrook and the Kings before the deal. That wasn't random. Christie was described internally as an admirer of Westbrook's leadership and competitiveness. That word, leadership, comes up constantly with both of them. Christie's style isn't about controlling personalities. It's about amplifying them when they align with the team's needs. Westbrook, even in a bench role, is still one of the most vocal leaders in the league. That voice isn't going to clash with Christie's. It's going to echo it. And that leads to the most important synergy: role clarity. Westbrook's biggest critics have long insisted he can't adapt, can't fit into a system, can't play without the ball. But those critics haven't been watching. In Denver, he accepted a sixth-man role and still finished with top-tier creation metrics. His 6.1 assists per game came in under 28 minutes. That's not a volume stat, that's a function stat. He ran the second unit, elevated bench players, and kept the offense moving. Christie needs exactly that. Sacramento's starters, led by Sabonis and Levine, do plenty of creation. What they lacked was a floor general who could keep the offense organized when those guys sat. Now they've got one. Christie's also shown he values pace. Sacramento played with a faster pace when he took over, and Westbrook's tempo is still elite. He ranked in the top percentile in transition opportunities created per possession. That's not about sprinting wildly. That's about reading the floor, pushing the tempo, and getting easier looks before defenses settle. And when Christie talks about shaping how the team plays, those easy buckets matter. Westbrook's transition threat forces teams to pick up earlier, and that creates mismatches Christie will absolutely exploit. Another benefit, Westbrook's experience with high-level bigs. He played with Nikola Jokic last season and unlocked easy action by cutting, relocating, and letting the offense run through the center. Sabonis fills a similar role in Sacramento. That connection between guard and big is a hard thing to build. But Westbrook doesn't need to build it from scratch. He's done it. Christie, who understands passing bigs and cutting guards from his own playing days, knows how to install that kind of rhythm. It won't be a theory, it'll be a blueprint. Leadership-wise, this is a perfect pairing. Christie's known as a player's coach. That doesn't mean soft. It means communicative. It means accountable. It means understanding when to push and when to guide. Westbrook doesn't need to be managed. He needs to be believed in. And in this case, he is. The Kings pursued him. Christie supported the move. And that kind of mutual respect sets the stage for a productive season. Westbrook might be 36, but he's still physically durable. He played 75 games last season, proving his availability. Christie, coaching his first full year, needs that kind of reliable veteran presence to stabilize the rotation and guide younger players. It also helps that Westbrook has ties to multiple players already on the roster. He played with Sabonis in Oklahoma City. He's known DeMar and Zach LaVine for years through their Los Angeles roots. That familiarity eases the adjustment process, which gives Christie one less variable to manage. Instead of spending camp trying to create chemistry, he can focus on structure and system. Another key factor is Westbrook's recovery from surgery. He had successful hand surgery in May 2025 and has since recovered. That's important, not just for physical performance, but for planning. Christie knows exactly what version of Westbrook he's getting. There's no guessing. He's healthy, he's locked in, and he's walking into a role that matches his current skill set. The most interesting storyline might be how Christie uses Westbrook in crunch time. While he's projected to come off the bench, his late game usage in Denver showed he can still close games when needed. That flexibility, knowing he doesn't have to start but can finish, gives Christie options. And when you're building a team identity based on culture and competition, that kind of versatility matters. From a metric standpoint, Westbrook's impact wasn't empty. Denver's net rating improved when he was on the floor, especially with bench-heavy lineups. His assist-to-turnover ratio was above 2-to-1, even while playing at a high pace. Those are the kind of numbers Christie can trust when crafting second-unit strategies. And if you believe in statistical roles, Westbrook's profile last season matches exactly what Sacramento needed. Someone who can score, pass, rebound, and defend, all without needing 20 shots a night. Christie's staff, which he selected to mirror the team's identity, will play a role too. Multiple reports said he prioritized passion and leadership in those hires. Westbrook brings both of those traits. the coaching room and the locker room won't be speaking different languages. And that matters when you're trying to sustain a culture. So when you stack it all up, Westbrook's role, acceptance, Christie's defensive foundation, the mutual respect, the organizational trust, the statistical fit, and the shared leadership qualities, you get one clear conclusion. Doug Christie isn't just a good coach for Russell Westbrook, he's the right one. He knows how to build around veterans without babysitting them. He understands the game from both sides of the floor. And he's walking into this season with a proven system that Westbrook can amplify, not resist. The result? A coach-player tandem that checks every box. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.